As pro-Confederate groups marched in Oxford this past weekend, Ole Miss men's basketball players took a knee during the national anthem.
And we'll have the latest updates from Saturday's post-game press conference as well as fan reactions to the news coming up next.
Good evening and thank you for tuning in to NewsWatch Ole Miss. I'm Matthew Hendley.
And I'm Sarah Kate Caliguire.
A huge weekend in Oxford. It was filled with pro-Confederate marches, counter-protesters, and basketball players taking a knee during Saturday's game against Georgia.
We start our coverage this evening with the 8 basketball players kneeling during the national anthem. Sports director Torry Rees is live in studio with what some players and coach Kermit Davis had to say about it. Torry?
Thanks, guys. I was at the pavilion covering the game when during the national anthem, one by one, players started kneeling. In Kermit Davis's opening press conference, Davis stated that he would have everyone stand and respect the flag. There was a lot of speculation on what the first-year head coach might do as far as punishment. However, in the press conference, his message was one of support.
You know, this was all about the hate groups that came to our community and try to spread racism and bigotry, you know, in our community. It's created a lot of tension for our campus. I think our players made an emotional decision to show these people they're not welcome on our campus, and we respect our players' freedom and ability to choose that.
No, I don't think there was any discussion. I think kind of just intertwined with, like Coach said, we're just tired of these hate groups coming to our school and portraying our campus like it's our actual university, you know, having these hate groups in our school. So majority of it was we saw one of our teammates doing it and we just didn't want to be alone. So that's what you saw.
And after the game, fans that were there wanted to share what they thought about the players taking a knee.
I think it's okay. I think they're showing respect, and that's a good thing on their behalf. I'm glad that they're still doing that type of thing. So there's nothing wrong with that.
Just as our guests have come to support what they support, we come to support what we support. So basically, if they use their platform, for that, then they can. Just like we have a free, open campus for everybody else to come. It's equal. I try to see it as equal.
As the video started circulating through social media, people quickly started taking sides and voicing their opinions, either for or against the players kneeling. Lauren Nealon says, quote, "It disrespects literally nobody. How about in the year of our Lord 2019, you don't tell young black men how to feel or what to do when there is a Klan rally marching through their town while they entertain you for free on the basketball court." While others were against it, David Robinson says, quote, "I just saw this. I'm changing to golf now. Screw what is left of this school that was formerly Ole Miss." And finally, Jennifer Greer says that is an absolute disgrace. How can Ole Miss allow that? I am appalled, extremely disappointed at Ole Miss Rebels. Well, despite the protests and reactions, don't forget, it was an actual basketball game being played. The Rebels squeaked by with a 72-71 victory over the Bulldogs behind Tyree's 17 points and clutch buckets down the stretch. This puts Ole Miss at 19-8 and 9-5 in SEC play. Kermit Davis and crew are now in a great position to make the NCAA tournament. They'll have a chance for another resume booster when number 7 Tennessee visits on Wednesday. Matthew, back to you.
Thanks, Torry. Now shifting our focus to the Confederate marches and counter-protests on campus over the weekend. The Confederate group starting their day on the Oxford Square. NewsWatch reporter Madison Scarpino was there, capturing all of the action.
They came to chant and make speeches.
We are a constitutional free republic.
They came with signs and flags. They came to show their support for Confederate monuments in Oxford and on campus. The pro-Confederate rally Saturday was organized in response to a November protest supporting the removal of these monuments.
Here at the square in Oxford, Mississippi, the rally has begun, and as you can see behind me, we have the pro-Confederate supporters gathering in front of the Confederate statue, and over here to my left, we have some protesters as well.
Rally observer Jordan Richardson says he is not sure of what actual difference the rally will make, but would love to see some change.
I think that it gives people the opportunity to show where they stand, and I think that makes a difference. As far as statues actually coming down, I would love to see it happen, but I do still think that we're far away from that.
George K-Rack Johnson leads the protester group Confederate 901. He says he is tired of people making assumptions about him and his organization.
It's just like me out here, and I publicly say, well, you know, if that black man with his pants sagging down below his pants ain't nothing but a drug dealer. Well, because I walk around with a Confederate flag in my hands and support my Southern history, that doesn't mean that I'm a racist.
Johnson feels as though his group are the real victims.
They claim that they're trying to fight for equality and fight oppression, but who's being oppressed here? Southern people are being oppressed.
Protesters marched from the square to the Confederate statue in the circle on campus. Though the demonstration ended, this conflict continues. Madison Scarpino, NewsWatch Ole Miss.
And before marching to the circle on campus, a famous pro-Confederate activist also arriving on the square. I stopped to talk with H.K. Edgerton, who is African-American and also supports Confederate heritage. Here's what he had to say about the opposition to this weekend's protest.
But I'm telling you, just like as I'm saying to you now, we get beat up on all the time. The word Confederacy is a bad word. That just means the coming together of forces. We get beat up because we carry the flag. Why? But if we stand to defend the flag, this is what we face. Madness from all over the place.
Edgerton is a former president of the Asheville, North Carolina chapter of the NAACP. He's often given a prominent position at Confederate heritage rallies, being seen this weekend giving several speeches and reciting Civil War poems to the group of protesters.
And as you can imagine, the Mississippi Stands rally brought heated words among both sides. NewsWatch reporter Grant Gibbons gives us a look at the rally once it moved onto campus.
Police were prepared as almost 100 protesters filed into the University Circle to make their voices heard. Counter-protester Destiny Bolden says she thinks the pro-Confederate groups are selfish.
I think they want to try to break down the black community at Ole Miss.
One protester told us the demonstration was not about race. He said he believes heaven is not segregated. One alumnus in the crowd questions the group's motives.
The real issue is, I think, this glorification of the Confederacy.
Words sometimes got heated between the two groups. Despite the animosity between the two demonstrations, nobody was hurt.
Now that protesters and counter-protesters have filed out, the Ole Miss campus looks to return to normal. Grant Gibbons, NewsWatch Ole Miss.
All protesters were given 1 hour to protest on campus before they were escorted off by campus police. And as we've already seen, the pro-Confederate protesters were met with opposition. NewsWatch reporter DeAndria Turner is live in studio with more on the counter-protest. DeAndria?
Thanks, Sarah Kay. A few dozen counter-protesters showed up to the Oxford Square and to the Circle to fight against what they say is hate, not heritage.
It's our responsibility to stand up to people like this, and if we're quiet, then neutrality is only helping one side amplify their voices more.
Counter-protesters gathered on the Oxford Square and the Circle Saturday to stand against the Confederate 901 and Highwaymen, two groups protesting to keep Southern history alive. Originally, the planned counter-protests for Saturday were canceled, but about 3 dozen people like senior Jasper Zach attended this one.
I'm here to counter-protest hate. I think when there are fascists and Confederates marching on our campus, it's really important that people stand up and say that they don't represent all Mississippians, all students, or the community.
student Bamika Barnes attended to use her voice to silence the Confederate protesters.
Retreat, why lay down? So we're here because they're saying we're not willing to lay down. We're not willing to be silent, because to remain silent is to be complicit with such evil.
Barnes said she also came out because of other Black history movements.
We're like, I'm not here for a history lesson, but we're doing what cousin Colin Kaepernick, what his knee meant, what Auntie Angie, what our fist meant, what Brother Biko's, his movement meant. We're here as a representation of that.
While the protest was a peaceful one, one counter-protester was arrested. Sam Abel, who is not a student at the university, was charged with disorderly conduct. Abel was transported to the Lafayette County Detention Center on a $689 bond. Abel posted bond and is no longer in police custody. Matthew, Sarah Kate, back to you.
Thanks, DeAndria. And even though campus was primarily filled with different protest groups, there were a few bystanders present.
NewsWatch reporter Brittany Brown found out how an alum and one out-of-state student feel about the marches.
Pro-Confederate groups gathered in Oxford and on the Ole Miss campus. They say to protect statues and other symbols that represent the Confederacy. Two groups, the Highwaymen and Confederate 901, traveled from out of state to demonstrate while students and others looked on.
I'm from the Northeast, and I've moved to Mississippi. I've lived here for 3 years now, and something like this in the Northeast is very uncommon.
And although the two groups say they don't represent hate, some people sensed an air of tension and intolerance.
It was a weird feeling because you can feel the aggression, you can feel the hate that really kind of set me back a little because I wasn't really expecting that much.
Even though the university planned for hundreds of demonstrators to come out to campus today, only a few small groups came out, but that didn't change the impact on students and alumni.
I don't want it on campus because, in my opinion, it's hate speech. They have no concept of understanding the perception of another minority group of people.
People say there's change happening on campus, but it gets overshadowed by pro-Confederate symbols and demonstrations.
What people don't see, there is a lot of black activism going on in the city of Oxford and also on the campus, which is bringing these type of protesters here because they're making those changes.
And students made sure their voices were heard.
It made me feel like I served my purpose today. As a black student and as a black woman here at the University of Mississippi, I played my part. I was very, very proud of the diversity and the unity. I'm going to keep fighting and keep pushing and keep protesting until my voice is heard.
Brittany Brown, NewsWatch Ole Miss.
The university will host 2 open forums tomorrow to process the weekend's events and create an action plan for moving forward. The Provost Forum for faculty and staff will be held from 3 to 4:30 p.m. The Students Forum will be held from 5 to 6:30 p.m., and both will take place in Fulton Chapel.
Well, from tornado watches to flooding, the weather didn't provide much relief in Oxford this past weekend, Sarah Kate.
And if you received a boil water notice on Saturday, stay tuned to hear if that is still in effect. But first, here's a look at your 5-day forecast.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
I was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies.
Selfie nailed it. We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's put a ride home.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I, Krista, take you, Jamie, to be my wife. When we found out that we were pregnant, we were just elated. We were just sitting there waiting for the pediatrician. She said she won't be taking you in as a client.
We are a lesbian couple, but she's just a baby. She's the one you're denying the service to.
Some frightening footage here. A tornado ripping through Columbus, Mississippi on Saturday night. This video being taken inside a convenience store as the twister passes down the street. The storm leaving one Tupelo woman dead. The tornado taking her life after a building collapsed on her and 3 other people, marking the first tornado death of 2019. Early damage reports indicating that at least 300 homes and 30 businesses being damaged in 20 counties across the state. We'll fire up that stove because the boil water notice is here until at least Wednesday. A boiled water alert being issued over the weekend for Oxford water system users. Many water systems broken this weekend due to heavy rain. Water pressure has been restored to most homes. The notice not affecting most buildings on campus, only outside facilities such as the Ford Center and Jackson Avenue Center. Authorities reporting that water from all campus dorms is safe to drink.
And Oxford was under a tornado watch for most of the day Saturday, but we didn't see any severe weather, but that doesn't mean there wasn't damage of other kinds. NewsWatch reporter Ashley Muller looked into how high one river has risen due to a week of constant rain.
Yaknak River is at a record high, with family members seen checking on their daughter's house and waddling up to their knees in water. This is the first time they've seen anything like this.
Not since this house has been here, and it's been here
I think it's been
12 years.
since 1955 since we've had one this bad.
I'm here on County Road 328, where the Yakna River has flooded and closed down roads just like this. MDOT is here to caution residents from driving over these hazardous conditions, and locals are worried that this flooding will affect their business and land.
I'm just praying it doesn't get up in there because I can't get in touch with all my tenants here.
What used to be his farming land surrounding his storage facility now is completely submerged by water. Mike Williamson says this flooding is like nothing he's ever seen.
I have 3 irrigation pumps that are not designed to go underwater. They're all underwater right now.
Yaknak River is at a record high of 28.54 feet. WTVA meteorologist Matt Levon says he expects the conditions to improve.
The Yakna River is reaching historic record levels and is expected to crest, which means it reach its peak height of flood stage within the remainder of Saturday. By Sunday, levels should be coming down, but certainly widespread flooding for those that are already experiencing it should be expected, but we don't expect levels of that flooding to increase that much more. I think they're already at their peak, and it should diminish from here.
Some rivers around the area began reaching peak flood stages, but are starting to recede due to drier weather. And because of the double-digit amounts of rain, one dam on the north side of town was at an imminent threat of breaking Saturday afternoon. NewsWatch reporter Jaisha Johnson was there to get the latest information.
The earth opened up in a dam behind the North Point subdivision in Oxford. The combination of a sinkhole and a flash flood warning pushed the city to alert the residents of the danger. Emergency manager Steve Cross says what began as a 20 by 20 hole just kept growing.
Now it's a lot bigger. It's probably somewhere 30 to 40 foot, and it's a good 25 foot deep that it's actually eroding into the levee.
Cross says residents near the dam don't have much to worry about.
This particular dam we don't believe would affect any of the houses in the community.
If the dam was to give in, the rushing waters will reach the creek and the bridge below it. For precautionary reasons, the bridge is closed for now. Jaisha Johnson, NewsWatch Ole Miss.
We called the Lafayette County Emergency Management Agency, and they have assured us the dam is in stable condition. They have lowered the water levels to ensure no breach is possible. They will also continue to monitor the situation until they are certain the dam is no longer at a risk of breaching.
And the consistent flooding, especially from Friday night, was not very forgiving to the roads either. It caused some potholes and even sinkholes to develop around town.
And after finding out more about the potential dam break, NewsWatch reporter Jaisha Johnson went to find out more about road conditions around Lafayette County.
Constant rain over 5 days brought in flood waters and shut down roads in the Oxford area. On Ronham Loop, one local business owner struggled to keep his office dry.
And so I've been shop vacuuming all night.
He has seen flooding here before, but not to this extent.
No, anytime it rains really hard, my office gets a little water in it, but not like this time. It's been pretty bad.
Not only have showers caused flooding, the rain has washed away the earth and created multiple sinkholes.
The water just found a path of least resistance, which happened to be this ditch behind us off the bank of the road here, and it went, took the dirt with it.
Right off of Highway 6, where MDOT attempts to fill a sinkhole that appeared last
last night as a result of the local showers that Oxford has had over the last couple of days.
With as much as 1 to 1.5 inches of rain expected for Saturday, Oxford residents may get more flooding before it's all over. Jaisha Johnson, NewsWatch Ole Miss.
Oxford and Lafayette County are still working to reopen certain roads that were affected by the flooding.
How about that sinkhole, Sarah Kate? Wouldn't want to fall in that.
Yeah, definitely not. And I'm glad there's no more rain considering that there could be further damage.
Right, that's right. The Ole Miss athletics program held a town hall meeting for fans this past weekend. See what Ross Bjork said about Matt Luke.
And one Ole Miss baseball player received high honors. See who it is next.
Don't ignore the subtext. It's on us to intervene in sexual assault. Because we can. Take the pledge at itsonus.org.
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread and kissed them all soundly and put them to bed. Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org.
Sometimes the things we do or say can make others feel hurt, excluded, or isolated. Everything you say and do creates an impact.
How am I supposed to save the whole world?
You can't think about saving the world. You have to think about saving one person.
Because of you, someone's entire life can change. You don't have to be a superhero to have a positive impact.
Friends?
Friends.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Sports Watch. I'm AJ Norwood. Oxford hosted their 4th of 7 town hall meetings spearheaded by athletic director Ross Bjork Saturday. The meeting allowed fans to directly ask Bjork about the program.
Right, and he said, you know what, here's the plan. The plan is we have really good continuity right now. We're recruiting despite all the noise. This was back in the fall of 17, December of 2017. You know what? These guys have helped get this program back through all the nonsense, all the challenge. And you know what? I'm going to keep these guys together because we think that'll pay off on the field and in recruiting. Now, we didn't have the season that we expected. We didn't want to go 5-7. We didn't expect to go 5-7. So after that, it's like, you know what? How do we get better? And he made the changes accordingly.
The next town hall meeting will be held tonight from 5:30 to 7 o'clock p.m. in Tupelo in the Bancorp South Conference Center. Now for news on the gridiron, the Ole Miss football team will hit the practice fields tomorrow to officially kick off their 2019 spring season. Rebel head coach Matt Luke will address the media prior to Tuesday's practice, with that press conference being streamed live on SEC Network Plus as well as Facebook Live and OleMissSports.com. To conclude the spring season, the annual Grove Bowl will be played on April the 6th with kickoff of the scrimmage beginning at 3 p.m. The Grove Bowl will be televised on SEC Network. Switching it over to the Diamond, Ole Miss baseball standout Thomas Dillard has now been named a National Player of the Week by Collegiate Baseball. This award comes after Dillard was also named SEC Player of the Week. The talented junior has 4 home runs that rank first in the SEC and 7th in the nation. Dillard is averaging 2.5 RBI per game. That puts him second in the conference and fourth in the nation. His recent monster performance on Saturday also has him on the path to win the Golden Spikes Award Performance of the Week. And as if Oxford needed more happening this past weekend, ESPN came to town and showed a group of journalism students what it takes to be a part of a live production team. NewsWatch reporter Sky Spiller takes us behind the scenes.
5, 4, 3,
The countdown is on for some soon-to-be graduates of the Ole Miss School of Journalism and New Media. One of those students is Colin Rivera. He's hoping to break into the sports journalism industry come May.
There's thousands of people applying to the same kind of internship, so I think that's the biggest difficulty that I face and many other people face when they're trying to get their foot in the door.
Freelance camera operator Ryan Fredericks has found that to score a job in sports production, the ball has to bounce your way.
This is something you kind of fall in with. You gotta get the right place, right time. Can't overstate that.
Being a part of the production team, it'll get you into some of the most exciting games in the country, often with the best seats in the house, but as with any other job, it comes with downsides.
Inconsistent schedules and being away from loved ones are two of the hardships much of the ESPN crew faces. Despite the challenges that come with the job, camera operator Eric Honeycutt thinks it's worth it.
We're shooting high adrenaline basketball. It is a very rewarding job. You basically get to make highlights that other people get to see.
Although Fredericks believes being in the right place at the right time is critical, he also says young journalists can set themselves up for success.
If you just get out there and learn, cream rises to the top and just do your best.
Sky Spieler, NewsWatch Ole Miss.
ESPNU has a relationship with the university and selects a certain amount of games each season to bring on student assistants. That's all I have for you today in sports. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at NewsWatch_UM for all the latest sports updates. Sarah Kate, Matthew, back to you.
Thanks, AJ. Well, the events kept on coming this weekend as a vehicle running into a sunglass store on the square.
Thankfully, no one was hurt, but you could say that it was quite the spectacle. So stay tuned.
Little lungs in a great big world. The story of a pair of lungs that smoked as a teen and never grew to normal size.
My little lungs are gonna need a lot of air for this.
I got this. Smoking as a teen can stunt your lungs.
Ow.
Keeping them little forever.
Better look next year, little lungs.
In a great big world.
We are Ole Miss Rebels. As Mississippi's flagship university, we dig deeper, see farther, work harder. We pioneered human organ transplants. We helped prove Einstein's theory of gravitational waves. We are distinguished as a Carnegie R1 top 2.5% research institution. We are Ole Miss, transforming lives and the world.
When I was your age, I was just like you, fascinated by stars. But now I get to search for life in the universe. And who knows, maybe life is looking for us too.
So we're like aliens to them?
Yeah. Does anyone want to be a scientist now?
I do.
Awesome. We need more girls in STEM.
Maybe we can find aliens.
No one saw this coming, not even the sunglasses. As a vehicle crashed into a sunglass store Saturday night around 11 p.m., an unknown vehicle caused a white car to crash into a look-ahead sunglass store on the square. Fortunately, no one was injured.
The Oxford Police Department is still looking for the unknown vehicle, saying it drove off after striking the white car. OPD is also reviewing video footage, but says to contact them if you have any information about the crash or notice a vehicle with front-end damage.
What a weekend. Thanks for joining us. That's all we have for tonight. For a complete look at our coverage from this past weekend, head over to our Facebook and YouTube page. Thank you for tuning in to NewsWatch Ole Miss. I'm Matthew Hendley.
Also be sure to catch us here again on air tomorrow at 5 and on our Facebook live stream. I'm Sarah Kate Caliguire. Thank you and good night.